Hi everyone, it's Lauren, your sewing buddy here, and I'm trying something new today. I'm going to do an interview segment. You all remember Asher from a couple of weeks ago with his NaNoWriMo failures, and how is that going, Asher?
Not great.
Not great?
Not great.
Well, you at least look fabulous today.
Thank you.
So, what's going on with NaNoWriMo? What happened?
So NaNoWriMo, I was behind pretty much from day one. I tried to catch up. I hit like 2,500 words a day some days, but I'm writing every day. I've missed maybe like 3 or 4 days at most, but I'm just not writing enough.
Okay.
But the stuff I'm writing is good.
Oh, good.
So I have that going for me.
So you are still building those habits and getting at least the juices flowing every day.
Yes, I'm still writing regularly. In fact, probably when I get home, I'm going to go do some writing.
Awesome. So what are you actually working on for NaNoWriMo?
So NaNoWriMo, I am, despite the name of National Novel Writing Month, I am not writing a novel. I know, shocking. I rebel quite a bit. It is called rebelling when you do not write a completely new novel. Okay. So what I am working on is a tabletop role-playing game.
Interesting.
Yes.
What's the premise of the game?
The premise of the game is it is set in the spirit world, where there are the souls of the dead and animal spirits and angels and demons and eldritch abominations and all these kinds of things all mixed up in one place. And the meta of it is the idea of the malleability of the self without the fleshy body in the way.
So kind of you can be whatever you want to be.
You can be whatever you want to be. You can become anything you want. There are ways to become pretty much anything in the game. Oh. And at the moment, so one of the main parts of the game is this thing called aspects, where you have an aspect of yourself that changes the way you play the game. Like, for instance, if you're a very tough character, you can have an aspect where you're like super tough, or you can have an aspect that allows you to use another skill in place of one that you don't maybe have the best ability for.
Okay.
But there's also ones that change your physical appearance and how that affects your gameplay. For instance, there is alteration, which is adding things, non-human things to your character, such as extra limbs, or horns, or wings, ghostly tail.
So literally anything that
Literally anything.
Okay.
At the moment, I have about 120 aspects that I have written down, and I have ideas for about 30 or so more that I have not written down.
So this is something that you could also make bank on expansions for.
Oh yes, you could definitely, I am planning many expansions for this after the main game is out.
So what inspired you to create this game?
So what inspired me was a mix of things. First of all was going to Big Bad Con, which was this amazing tabletop convention that was a lot of fun, and I got to meet with some people who actually create tabletop games, and that's their thing. I actually did a Starfinder module with the writer of the module.
Awesome.
Which was really fun, by the way. And so that really got me thinking, maybe I could write tabletop. Like, I've tried to write tabletop before, and it's like, I get frustrated with a system that's already made because it's too constricting, or I feel like I don't know it enough. Or if I try to make a new system, I feel like completely overwhelmed. Like, how do I do this? But I was like, you know what? Let's try it. Let's do something. So I am making the system from the ground up. What else? The setting itself was somewhat based on a couple of different ideas I had. One of my previous NaNoWriMo victories was set in the afterlife with human souls. And then one of my game design ideas that I was working on while I was in school was set in the spirit world, where there were like spirits and animal spirits and angels and demons, etc., etc. So I just kind of lumped those two things together and mushed it around a little bit, and that's what I got.
Well, that makes it handy when you've already got all of that groundwork and you
Yeah.
just kind of Play-Doh it together. Mm-hmm. So last year for NaNoWriMo,
Either way, but specifically it's NaNoWriMo because writing.
Right. You did a radio show?
I did a radio play script that is in production now. I'm working, I have all of the voice actors for, the first 10 episodes or so set. I'm just working on getting all the audio together, going through it, finding out which line fits best for which part, etc., etc. It's a whole lot of rigmarole, and I'm really bad at it. I was actually halfway through it, and then I lost my notes, so I have to do it all over again.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's tough. But I don't have to edit it, because I have a wonderful editor who is doing everything pro bono.
Oh, good.
Because he genuinely likes the idea.
Awesome. It's great to have friends like that. So
Right.
once it's produced, where could people see it?
So they can see it at the official
hear
website.
it.
Hear it, yeah. Hear it, more apt. We have a YouTube, we have a Facebook, we have a website with WordPress, so we can get the RSS feed out to Google Play, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. The official website is lanxradio.com, LANXRADIO. I can spell.
And this one is more of a sci-fi.
It is. It's sci-fi. It's the basic premise is that a girl gets abducted into outer space by a talking cat. And as you do, and becomes a space pirate.
As you do.
As you do. And there's just all kind of shenanigans of the first human out in space, or the first human out of space that we know of.
Mm-hmm. So a little bit of Hitchhiker's Guide in there?
A little bit of Hitchhiker's Guide, a little bit of Outlaw Star, a little bit of Star Wars, I would say. Just, just like all of this, all of the sci-fi that I've lived with and grew up with,
So I think that's kind of what happens a lot when you're creating anything, is it does wind up being a mishmash of all of those things that you love about that thing you're making.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But you and I, tangent here, you and I met through live action roleplay.
Yes.
We met at Realms of Conflict, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what has been your LARP journey?
So my LARP journey has been a lot of costume design and a little bit of prop making. I do know how to sew, not as well as you, but enough to get by. And so a lot of my costume iterations were like, okay, what can I add to my costume? What can I change in my costume that really makes it the character I want to be? One of my favorites was this, you saw it, but for the people at home who haven't seen it, it's this great white tunic with a trailing hood and kimono sleeves, and it was pretty.
And then that
gorgeous.
purple corset over the top.
And then the purple corset over the top.
Yes.
Although later I added a gold bodice instead, because corsets are just awful.
If they're not fitted for you,
If they're not fitted for you, yes.
If you have a good corset, it's comfortable and wonderful and better than a bra.
Yes. Unfortunately, I am not. I do not have that luxury.
Well, no. But that's not a thing that you worry about.
No,
anyway,
not anymore. I prefer a different kind of,
yeah,
fancy.
So, what, of the characters that you've played, who have you felt the most in touch with?
Oh, definitely Avery.
Okay.
Avery, my fancy fairy boy.
Yes.
He is the most fun to play, and I adore him. And the reason I haven't played my alt is because Avery is always so much fun to play.
And Avery is a character in the game that I also play, where you saw me making stuff for Jane. Avery is the anti-Jane. This is Avery's hat. Avery is fancy brocade, runs the mercantile shop. It's
yes,
night and day.
He is very fancy. I wear a blonde wig. I look as prim and proper as possible, and
anime fairy boy.
Anime fairy boy, yes. Complete with the ears when I so choose.
Yes. Anything else that you'd like to talk about while you're here with my handful of followers?
I have a bachelor's in game design and concept art.
Yes.
Do not do not do that unless you really know what you want to do, because oh wow, I have been flip-flopping between so many jobs trying to find something that fits, and I actually have. There have been a lot of openings for art teachers lately.
Yes.
And I feel like sort of utilizing my degree to help the next generation really find their love of art and their sort of, if they have an artist's life in mind ahead of them, then finding that purpose and finding that true joy that comes from that, then I want to see that happen. I think that would be really fun.
Worst case scenario, in like Los Gatos, you could be an art tutor for somebody's student who needs an art tutor to pass their art.
And really,
it happens.
It does happen.
It
yes.
happens. And
there were
pay
actually
for it.
there are art tutor classes out there. However, I was looking at more full time.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, so, finding my new passion in art. Or re-finding my passion in art, I should say.
So what's your favorite kind of art to do?
Ooh, I love drawing. Drawing is my favorite. Just, like, sketching out things. Pen and ink is also a lot of fun. Coloring on the computer is also a lot of fun, because there's the magical button known as undo.
Yes.
Yes. Can't undo when you're painting, unfortunately.
Not without a lot of layering.
Not without a lot of layering. You can eventually change the mistake, or the happy accident, as Bob Ross puts it.
Right.
But you can't undo it.
No, it's always there.
It's always there. It'll always be there. Which some people like. Some people like to see the mistakes that artists make.
Yeah, like, I know there are articles around where people have done like the laser or radar or something to see the underlayers of famous paintings, and you can see all of those drafts and mistakes and wait, this shape is completely wrong, I'm going to paint over it. And that's really, really interesting to watch.
It is. It's quite fascinating. It's something that really makes you realize that the greats of the past were still human, just like us. You know, they weren't these magical beings on a pedestal that so many people put them as.
They didn't just sneeze out art.
Yeah, they didn't just go, "Achoo!" and there's the Mona Lisa.
All right. Well, it's been great having you here again. Hopefully you're going to catch up at some point with NaNoWriMo.
I mean, even if I don't, I'm writing every day. Yeah. The stuff I'm producing is good. Like, it's stuff that I'll probably be using in the final draft, if maybe changing the words around a little bit. So, it's still...
It's productive.
It's productive.
Good. And if this was something that you enjoyed and you want to see me talk to more of my crafty friends, let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Show me, again, what you've been making. Talk to me about what you do for your creativity, because I want to know more about you guys. Like, I know there are people who watch this, but I don't know who you are. So that would be amazing. And I will be back with you next week.